Number 10. Jim Carrey. Jim is considered to be one of the funniest men in human history. In 1995 alone, he had 3 blockbuster comedies make it big at the box office, with Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. Now, as the years have gone by, his films were a roller coaster of genres. He slowly started moving into the realm of real with films like Yes Man and The Number 23, but that movie was really when people started to wonder if things were okay with Jim. And according to Jim himself, he was more than fine, he was learning. Jim has become a very introspective person as time has gone on, becoming more and more spiritual and sure of himself. He slowed down in the acting world and started painting, creating beautiful and disturbing pieces in his studio in New York, but the world of Hollywood was not letting him go so easy. Jim starred as Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman, in the live-action Sonic movie that gave Jim the modern-day boost he needed to pop back into the mainstream. However, while being interviewed on the red carpet for Sonic 2, Jim explained that there were so many things over the years that he has been forced to ignore because of how busy he's been, joking that there was 25 years of Mystery Science Theater to catch up on. He goes on to say that his paintings will soon be available as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, which is a word I did not think would ever come out of Jim Carrey's mouth. In recent interviews, Jim has been pretty adamant about quitting the acting world very soon, so it's looking more and more like Sonic 2 may be his last film role. Number 9. Billie Eilish. Billie is one of the best musicians around right now. You show anyone a picture of her or play even 1 second of Bad Guy, instant answer is Billie Eilish. While Billie has been making music for a long time, she hasn't always enjoyed the fame that comes with it. In 2020, she revealed that the pressure started really kicking in around 2016, having to deal with many things that would make most adults crumble. She was still a teen at the time, and having a massive crowd gathering around you every time you step outside is not fun. In an interview with the LA Times, she explained that she hated going outside. Being recognized by anyone was panic-inducing. She just wanted to do normal teenage things without being spotted by paparazzi. She then explained that being locked in her home in 2020 really helped her reflect on the situation and grow as a person. It's understandable that that pressure that young made her uncomfortable. Like, look how many child actors quit acting for the exact same reasons. That and a lot of DUIs. Number 8. Brad Pitt. In 2019, Brad sat down with Entertainment Tonight Canada to discuss the things that drive him to take the roles that he chooses. Pitt has been around since the mid-90s and has gone nowhere but up, up, and away! While he's not much of a franchise man, Pitt has been a busy bee starring in several blockbuster hits like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and so many more. Despite being a megastar, Brad has actually struggled with his fame over the years. He actually got very introspective in the interview, explaining that the struggle wasn't exactly with the glitz and glamour, but rather the distance that was growing between himself and everybody else. He says that as he got older, the people he surrounded himself with became more and more important to him. He goes on to say that his time working on set meant that he would not be able to enjoy the things that he wished to use his money for, like traveling the world. Even though he has filmed in some pretty luxurious locations, actors rarely get enough time to actually enjoy the scenery. It seems that Brad's been able to get over his gripes, and he now leaves time for himself between shoots to get a little groovy. Number 7. Daniel Radcliffe. Dan the man with the plan can play Peter Pan. Nailed it. Mr. Radcliffe, of course, rose to flame when he was just 12 years old, portraying the iconic magical misfit Harry Potter in the film series based on the novels by J.K. Rowling. Dan is one of the few child actors who continued to work following the end of their franchise, being in every genre imaginable, from dramatic art pieces like Swiss Army Man to the action thriller Guns Akimbo to the horror flick Woman in Black. Dan proved that he was more than a scar and some glasses. Of course, starting to be such a big name at such a young age had a massive effect on Dan. Growing up in one of the most profitable franchises of all time, he would make regular appearances at conventions and in studios. Apparently, he faced a lot of hate from some fans who would actually boo him when he would walk on stage, something he claims to have been long-lasting and anxiety fuel. Thankfully, the harsh words never stopped him from doing what he loved, appearing in 8 Harry Potter movies before morphing into the Hollywood A-lister that he is today. Number 6. Kylie Jenner. Kylie is one of the younger members of the Kardashian clan. Being rich and famous at such a young age has dramatically impacted her day to day. In an interview from 2015, Jenner said that she woke up every morning with the worst anxiety, claiming to launch out of bed around 7 or 8 because she is nervous that there will be a negative article waiting for her to deal with. The fear is warranted, as over the years her name has been on the front page of media outlets a few times for various scandals and rumors. Unfortunately, most of the things that have been revealed have been proven to be true, like the mistreatment of employees at her cosmetic factory or the fact that she lied to Forbes magazine about how rich she was, so kinda hard to feel bad for Kylie on this one. Number 5. Megan Fox. One of 2 Transformers alumni that will pop up on this list, Megan Fox is one of the few people that hated acting so much that they did eventually retire. Megan was of course the hottest woman in Hollywood in the mid-2000s, but following her departure from the Transformers franchise, things started to take a turn. She was being casted in less and less, seemingly due to her bashing Hollywood any chance that she had. The reason she was let go from Transformers was because she referred to Michael Bay as a former leader of Germany whose name rhymes with Schmittler. Between 2012 and 2023, Megan only starred in one franchise, and that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live-action series. So bad it was remade into an animated feature this year that made millions. Megan actually called out Hollywood a lot in the past, claiming the process behind developing a film and casting a project was disgusting. She felt like an object many times in her career, and rightfully so. Every shot of Megan during the day in Transformers looks like an Axe body spray commercial. While she is adamant that she absolutely hates being famous, she seems to be appearing in movies again, so I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe Hollywood likes it when their actor teases them, gives them a little tingle downstairs, a little kinky. Number 4. George Clooney. George was a massive star in Hollywood, being deemed a Hollywood heartthrob thanks to his work on the hit TV series ER. Over the years, Clooney's career has been filled with many hits, like Ocean's 11, as well as a brief stint as Batman in 1997 that I will never let him live down. In recent years, things have slowed down drastically for the heartthrob, being casted in less and less roles the closer we got to 2023. His last 2 roles were in The Flash and Ticket to Paradise with Julia Roberts, both of which received terrible box office returns. This may have something to do with George believing that Hollywood is an extremely toxic place. In an interview with IndieWire, Clooney said that fame can be very dangerous. While he has maintained a rather humble approach to life, that wasn't always the case. George recounted how early in his career he enjoyed the sneaky nature of the press. He liked the fame being delivered to him on a daily basis, and it eventually messed with his mental health. Over the years, he's tried to separate himself from his projects once they wrapped up. These days, he spends a lot of time away from the spotlight and instead being a full-time human just trying to exist. Number 3. Shia LaBeouf. Shia is an interesting man. For a long time, he was Hollywood's go-to funny guy to throw into movies and TV shows, but since 2015, he's existed in this weird space between superstar and super jerk. Over the years, many situations involving Shia, including everything from shoving a dude to mistreating his ex, have been brought to light. This was part of the reason that he slowly started being casted in less and less projects, with his last big franchise being the 3rd Transformers movie. Since then, he's had a slew of indie and passion projects, but according to Shia himself, the entire idea of Hollywood is, quote, soul-crushing. During a Q&A at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2015, he claimed that there was little to no inclusivity in the industry, that he was a product for the studio to sell. He went off into a bit of a tangent that I won't quote fully because it will cause headaches. But to summarize in English that we can understand, Shia hated being famous for being someone's puppet and not for his own creative material. As we know, Shia never actually retired from acting, but following this revelation, he has appeared in far more independent projects, which means he's given almost complete creative control as showcased in the 2019 award-winning film Honey Boy, loosely based on his own life. Number 2. Robert Pattinson. Robert rose to fame thanks to playing the sparkling man with the plan Edward Cullen in the live-action Twilight series. While many are under the impression that being a part of such an iconic role would be a game-changer for most, for Robert, it was more of a waking nightmare. Sitting down for an interview in 2015, Rob gets real about the insanity that followed the release of Twilight. As one would expect, he was bombarded by fans in the streets constantly, and people were literally sitting outside of his house waiting for him to emerge, driving him crazy. He didn't go into supermarkets in person for 6 years, but these days he can actually exist in public since the Twilight stuff's kinda died down. He was honest in the interview and expressed that he is one of the most uncomfortable people in his normal life, and that it took him a very long time to reach the level of comfort that he has now. All that fame of being an actor has little impact on him these days, as he's become a much more serious actor with films like The Batman and Tenet under his belt. Thankfully, the whole Twilight thing is over and done, but there is a prequel to The Hunger Games on its way in a couple months, so Twilight prequel? Anyone? Huh? You? Yes. Number 1. Gigi Hadid. The Hadid modeling empire is strong, with Gigi being one of 2 Hadids roaming the runways of Paris. Despite coming from a wealthy family and living one of the most lavish lifestyles around, Gigi actually hates everything about it. According to herself, being busy for such long periods of times means that she isn't able to make time for the people who care about her in her life. She has lost a lot of friends over the years simply by being unavailable and everyone drifting apart. Now, this is a fair reason to hate your fame, but at the same time, if your friends can't respect that you're across the world modeling Chanel and Louis Vuitton, they don't deserve to be your friends. Besides, I've seen Gigi's Coca-Cola ad and she said she loves doing game night with her friends all the time. You gonna tell me that was a lie?
At number 10, Billie Eilish. In recent years, singer Billie Eilish has had a lot of success come her way. After rising to fame in 2015 with her song Ocean Eyes, Billie has since grown to become an award-winning artist, winning multiple Grammy Awards, AMAs, MTV Europe Music Awards, Brit Awards, MTV Video Music Awards, and an NRJ Music Award. But with all that fame comes a lot of pressure, and because she's gained massive fame at such a young age, Billie has struggled with it, even regretting her fame at times. Back in 2019, Billie did an interview where she talked about her life in the public eye and how her career and fame has affected her life, and she spoke out about how there wasn't much in the world that brought her peace, saying that though her life is fun and exciting, she doesn't have much sense of calm in her life. When asked about her sudden rise to fame, Billie spoke out about how her fame has had such a huge impact on her childhood, where she said, quote, "I don't mean this in a necessarily negative way, but I sort of lost my teenage years because this all started when I was 13. There's no training, there's no let me go to a school that's going to teach me how to be famous." End quote. It was almost like she was thrown into the deep end before learning how to swim, and she spent the majority of her teen years navigating herself through all of that, which must have been tough for someone so young to do. She's grown up in front of the prying eyes of Hollywood, and that would freak anyone out. At number 9, FKA Twigs. Singer FKA Twigs has experienced the highs and lows of fame. She rose to fame through her music, but many people know her for her high-profile relationships that she's been in. The singer was previously in a relationship with actor Shia LaBeouf, and she was in the news recently after she filed a lawsuit against the actor, alleging that he hurt her several times throughout the relationship. But before this high-profile relationship, she was dating Twilight star Robert Pattinson, and this relationship caused her to gain widespread attention. Because Robert has such a huge following, some of the attention from Robert rubbed off on Twigs, and a lot of the attention she received was negative. In an interview in 2015, the singer spoke out about her experience with fame in regards to her relationship, and she said that she was struggling with the public's perception of her. As soon as they went public with their relationship, Twigs found herself under a spotlight that she wasn't ready for, and when speaking on this, she said, quote, "It's really hard, I can't begin to explain how awful it is. It makes you want to just stop everything sometimes. It makes you want to smash your face into the mirror." End quote. Though she was struggling with the public eye, she did say, however, that it was worth it because she loved Robert so much. Before we carry on talking about the celebrities who hate being famous, why not take a quick moment to leave a like on this video to show your support, and while you're at it, maybe subscribe to the channel as well to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga has always been pretty open with her fans about her life and her struggles. She's an open book when it comes to many aspects of her everyday life, and that includes her career and the fame that comes with it. During an interview with CBS Sunday Morning back in 2016, Gaga spoke out about how her fame has impacted her life, and though she is grateful for the life it's given her, there are a few negative aspects of fame that she isn't a fan of. During the interview, the singer vocalized how being famous impacts your privacy, where she said, quote, "I'm very acutely aware that once I cross that property line, I'm not free anymore. As soon as I go out into the world, I belong in a way to everyone else. It's legal to follow me. It's legal to stalk me at the beach. I can't call the police or ask them to leave." End quote. On top of her concerns about her privacy, Gaga has also vocalized how her fame has taken away the freedom to just spark up a normal conversation with someone. The singer said that she missed being able to have conversations with people, as she said, quote, "I miss people. I miss, going anywhere and meeting a random person and saying hi and having a conversation about life. I love people." End quote. At number 7, Gigi Hadid. A lot of people think that being a celebrity would grant you all of these amazing perks, and you would have so many friends because of it, but apparently that's not exactly true, and being a celebrity can actually be a pretty isolating experience. At least that's what supermodel Gigi Hadid has said in regards to fame. During a 2019 interview with Elle magazine, Gigi said that because of her work, she's lost a lot of friends. Speaking on this, Gigi said, quote, "I've lost a lot of friends because I'll get busy for a short period of time and they're not reaching out, but if I don't reach out, then it's like I've changed." She said that because her work is so demanding, a lot of people don't understand how taxing it can really be, and so when she disappears for work for a little while, some people just don't wait for her to return and just move on. To further explain her struggles with keeping her social and work life in check, Gigi said, quote, "There are people who understand that I love them and know that when I get back to town I'm going to call them, but sometimes I can't call every day because I'm in weird places. Because a lot of the time I feel suffocated by my own work ethic and by the expectations I put on myself. It's really nice when you have people who say, it's okay, take time for yourself." End quote. At number 6, Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner is no stranger to the paparazzi. After the rise of sister Kim Kardashian in the media, a new spotlight began shining on the Kardashian-Jenner family. In 2007, taping of the reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians began, and Kylie was only 10 years old at the time. Having cameras around you 24/7 and growing up with the spotlight on you like that must be incredibly difficult to manage. Kylie, having grown up so publicly, has since shown her distaste for fame. She's vocalized her anxiety when it comes to the press, saying that she wakes up every morning feeling anxious because she thinks that a bad story is going to come out about her. She's been living with such paranoia for years, and it's really not fair that she was thrown into this lifestyle and just had to learn how to navigate it at such a young age. She became famous just because she was related to someone famous. She never really asked to have the spotlight put on her, but that's just something that she has to deal with on a daily basis. Kylie even hid from the world for months during her first pregnancy because she wanted to experience her pregnancy without the world watching. Seems to me that Kylie just wants to be a normal person. At number 5, Zayn Malik. Known for his iconic part in the former boy band One Direction, Zayn was known to have his fair share of grievances when it came to his fame. After leaving the group in 2015, Zayn went on to tell sources that he came to the realization that he just didn't want to be famous, and that he's lost a lot of people close to him because of his place in Hollywood. Zayn really just didn't like living in the public eye, and so he quit his job over it. Although Zayn decided to begin a solo career, many seem to believe that even that was too much for the singer. After the release of Pillow Talk, Zayn followed up with a number of cancelled appearances and performances, leading people to believe that he is still not up for the spotlight just yet. At number 4, Carrie Henn. Starting a career in Hollywood at a young age doesn't seem like it would be very easy. For a lot of former child stars, they say that they regret getting into the industry when they were so young because it made growing up very difficult for them. Though some stick around in the industry for the long haul, many others quit early on, and this is what happened to actress Carrie Henn. Carrie was cast as Newt in the movie Aliens, but after filming it, she decided that she couldn't handle the pressures of Hollywood anymore. Years after the hit film came out, Carrie did an interview to catch fans up to speed on what she's been doing and why they left Hollywood, where she said that she just didn't want to be away from her family. Carrie eventually got into the field of education and occasionally signs copies of the movie for her students, which is pretty cool. At number 3, Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway has been so successful in the film industry, starring in all sorts of different films, from The Devil Wears Prada to Les Miserables, but in a 2014 interview, Anne admitted that fame has really affected her for a long time. She opened up about her struggle balancing her life with the widespread fame that she was gaining, where she said, quote, "I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to engage with it. It stressed me out. And people would say, you just have to be yourself. And I was like, but I don't know who that is yet." End quote. The actress also spoke out about the criticisms that she was facing after her Oscars win for her role in Les Mis, which caused her to take a break from Hollywood. Speaking on this, Anne said, quote, "My impression is that people needed a break from me." End quote. Acting is just her job, and fame is just a side effect of what she does for a living, adding to the pressures of her craft. At number 2, Amanda Bynes. Former child actor Amanda Bynes grew up in the spotlight, and between the pressure of having grown up a celebrity combined with her public breakdown, it's no wonder that she decided to leave the industry after her fame became too much to handle. In the past, Amanda has spoken out about the times that she felt anxious about her Hollywood career, but in an interview with Paper Magazine, she opened up about the very moment that she decided to quit acting altogether, and this was after she watched her performance in the movie Easy A. Amanda told the publication, quote, "I literally couldn't stand my performance in that movie. I didn't like my performance. I was absolutely convinced that I needed to stop acting after seeing it. I was high when I saw it, but for some reason it started to really affect me. I don't know if it was a substance-induced psychosis or what, but it affected my brain in a different way than it affects other people. It absolutely changed my perspective of things." End quote. After making the decision to retire from acting, Amanda took to Twitter to tell the public about her plans to leave Hollywood. Although she says that she hopes to one day return to acting, she's also content with living her simpler life away from Hollywood. There was just too much pressure from Hollywood and having all eyes on her, so she had to leave it all behind to feel better about herself again. And finally, at number 1, Jack Gleeson. After gaining fame from starring as Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones, actor Jack Gleeson decided to take a step back from acting and leave Hollywood. Though he was grateful Grateful for the experience of being a part of such a huge show like Game of Thrones, Jack told sources that the large amount of fame that comes with the job just wasn't something that thrilled him. Going in depth about his thoughts on his place in the public eye, he told sources, quote, "It was always a recreation beforehand, but when I started doing Game of Thrones, perhaps the reality was made too real for me. The lifestyle that comes with being an actor in a successful TV show isn't something I gravitate towards." End quote. Jack even made the point to not watch his own performances on TV because of how maniacal his character was, as he said, quote, "You tend to abstract yourself from the creepiness of it when you're playing it, but when you see it on television, it sends shivers down my spine." End quote. Since leaving the industry, Jack has gone to college and has a goal of helping relief efforts for those in Haiti who are affected by the 2010 earthquake. At number 10, Harrison Ford. We all know Harrison Ford as the incredible actor who played Indiana Jones and Han Solo. Harrison Ford rose to fame through portraying those iconic characters and many others, but apparently all the fame he's received is something that Harrison himself isn't a fan of. Turns out the actor hates being famous. In a 2010 interview, Harrison spoke out about his rocky relationship with fame, saying how greatly it has affected his life and in such a negative way. The actor has said that his celebrity status has cost him privacy in his life, saying, quote, "There's nothing good about being famous. You always think if I'm successful then I'll have opportunities. You never figured the cost of fame will be a total loss of privacy. That's incalculable." End quote. The actor also talked about how unrealistic the expectations of fame are, saying, quote, "What a burden that is for everybody. It was unanticipated and I never enjoyed it. You can get the table you want in a restaurant, it gets you doctor's appointments, but what's that worth? Nothing." End quote. Harrison ended things by saying that he's only in it for the money, clarifying that acting is his job and that he's not in it for the notoriety. At number 9, Kristen Stewart. Twilight star Kristen Stewart has been acting since she was a kid, but her breakout role came about when the first Twilight film was released. After that, everyone was obsessed with Bella Swan and the actress who played her, but with that obsession and fame came the burden of having such notoriety, and Kristen has spoken out about her struggles with being in the public eye and how negatively it has affected her. In a 2015 interview with Harper's Bazaar, Kristen opened up about her relationship with fame, where she talked about how being famous is, quote, "the worst thing in the world." End quote. In the interview, Kristen commented on how at the beginning of her career she used to feel utter panic when getting harassed by paparazzi because she felt a loss of control and that she had to learn how to adapt to her surroundings over time. She continued to say, quote, "Having that much human energy thrust at you, then being critically analyzed is obviously disarming. Control issues make me so nervous. It's not knowing what's going to happen. So what people were seeing was what happens when you are terrified. My palms sweat, my knees shake, I don't think I can stand in my heels, I'm breathing heavily, I feel nauseous, I'll be so nervous, and then my body creates something to calm me down and I get so tired." The actress also commented on how she thinks fame can be stupid, saying, quote, "Fame is the worst thing in the world, especially if it's pointless. When people say, I want to be famous, why? You don't do anything." End quote. Before we carry on talking about celebrities who don't like being famous, why not leave a like on this video to help support the channel, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Zach Galifianakis. During a 2014 press conference for the movie Birdman, actor Zach Galifianakis spoke out about his feelings on fame and said that being a celebrity is dumb. This came after the film's cast talked about the notion of being a public figure and having fame, a theme that is consistent throughout the film. When the actor was asked about blurring the lines between performance and reality in the film, Zach began to speak about his own experiences being a celebrity and how he doesn't like it. Zach said, quote, "It's dumb, I'm not interested in it. I like to be an actor and that's it. The blurred lines are, I think, man-made. I think celebrity is a man-made thing. It's not innate in us. We have people telling us we should pay attention to these people for the wrong reasons, their personal lives and that stuff. I'm just being honest. I would rather do my work and go home and watch Lifetime or something." End quote. At number 7, Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson has had a rocky relationship with fame, and it all started after his career was boosted after the success of the Twilight franchise. Robert has said in interviews that his first unpleasant experiences with fame came from fans, saying that some of them were very intense. In one interview, the actor recalled some creepy run-ins that he has had with fans, as he said, quote, "Suddenly, everywhere I went, people thought they already knew me. They look at a photo of me and think they have a special relationship, a friendship, an affair with me, someone they haven't met their whole life." End quote. Coming out of his initial rise to fame, Robert has said that since gaining so much notoriety, he no longer feels like he has any privacy in his life, as he said, quote, "People were like, it's fine, who cares, they're just photos. They'll say, just live your life, but that's not life for me, if someone's observing it." End quote. To have the world watching you at all times feels like a huge burden, so I don't know how these celebrities do it. At number 6, Megan Fox. During a 2013 interview with Esquire magazine, Megan Fox spoke out about the way people view celebrities in the media and how it's unfair that celebrities get treated so poorly by the public and are just expected to take it without complaints. Throughout her career, Megan has been sexualized by Hollywood, and people have made comments about her appearance and personality, some of those comments being quite negative, and Megan has said that it's not fair that she and many other celebrities are just expected to treat this criticism as normal or just part of the job. In the interview, Megan said, quote, "I don't think people understand. They all think we should shut the F up and stop complaining because you live in a big house or you drive a Bentley, so your life must be so great. What people don't realize is fame, whatever your worst experience in high school when you were being bullied by those 10 kids in high school, fame is that, but on a global scale, where you're being bullied by millions of people constantly. Not everyone understands that's the deal." End quote. Being exposed to all of that negativity and not being able to get away from it can be very taxing, so I can understand why this would make someone hate their fame. At number 5, Macaulay Culkin. Former child star Macaulay Culkin was brought into the spotlight at a very young age. Very early on in his career, the actor reached his peak after the release of Home Alone in the 90s. After that, Macaulay continued to have a pretty steady career. It wasn't until he reached the age of 16 that he decided to take a step back from fame. After getting emancipated from his family, Macaulay went a little sideways and started getting himself into trouble. After getting into trouble with the law and abusing illegal substances, the actor found himself back in the spotlight again, but this time for his fall from grace. Everyone knew him as the adorable child star from the 90s, and soon his image became tarnished. It wasn't soon after his public downfall that Culkin took a step back from Hollywood once again. Since then, he's decided to lay low and not gather too much attention. He's since referred to his fame as a blessing and a curse, as it got him a lot of success as a child, but he just couldn't handle the fame. Coming into that so early on in your life must really impact the way you grow up, and I couldn't imagine how it would feel to have to deal with the pressures of being a public figure while also trying to come into your own as an individual. At number 4, Daniel Radcliffe. We all know Daniel Radcliffe for his iconic role as Harry Potter, but what we have neglected to realize is that he's been in the public eye since he was a child, and that put a lot of pressure on him from a young age. Kicking off his career as the boy wizard in 2001, he made a lot of money as a star of one of the most successful film franchises of all time. Though he became very rich and successful, Radcliffe has also had his share of scrutiny from the public. All the money and fame that he has acquired can't take away from the struggle Daniel had with fame since being a child. Speaking out about those struggles, Daniel has said, quote, "People will boo you even if you're a child." End quote. Daniel isn't on social media because he chooses to keep that kind of negativity out of his life, and these days things seem to be better for the actor, but for a while he wasn't happy with his place in Hollywood and hated the fame that he has. At number 3, Jake Lloyd. Sometimes all it takes is one bad experience to change our perspective on a situation. This is pretty much what happened with actor Jake Lloyd after starring as young Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Jake was only 8 years old when he started the film, and you would think that as a kid he would bask in the fame he was receiving. So many kids these days want to be famous, and Jake probably thought the same thing, but when the praise for the film turned to hate towards the actor, that's when he reconsidered his place in Hollywood. The actor said that this experience turned his childhood into a quote, living hell, end quote. Jake recalled how kids would make fun of him at the time and how insanely busy he was back then, having to do up to 60 interviews a day. He eventually decided to retire from acting because he was no longer able to fit in, and it took a big toll on him. Jake's case here is a perfect example of the darker side of being a celebrity and fame that most people don't acknowledge enough. At number 2, Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is the latest person to take up the role of James Bond, but apparently the actor wishes he never took up the role. The actor is very vocal about how much he hates playing James Bond, and when promoting the movie Skyfall in 2012, he really let his feelings about the role be known, as he said, quote, "I've been trying to get out of this from the very moment I got into it, but they won't let me go. I've agreed to a couple more," end quote. He has a love-hate relationship with the fame that this film franchise brought him, and he's fed up with the whole thing at this point. Back in 2015, during the release of the next Bond movie Spectre, Daniel got even more heated when talking about his famous role when he said, quote, "At this moment, no, I have a life and I got to get on with it," end quote. He also went on to say that he would, quote, "rather break this glass and slash his wrists than be in another Bond movie." It looks like Daniel just wants to take a step back from all of this for a while after being so immersed in it for so long. And finally, at number 1, Daniel Day-Lewis. If you're familiar with who actor Daniel Day-Lewis is, then you know that this is one incredibly talented guy. Well, unfortunately, Hollywood won't be able to bask in his talent any longer as he made the decision to quit Hollywood and has retired from acting. This came after he was left feeling underwhelmed after making the movie Phantom Thread. In this film, Daniel played a fashion designer who made couture dresses for people in high society. To prepare for this role, he became an apprentice to the costume designer for the New York City Ballet and even recreated a Balenciaga dress. Needless to say, he prepared heavily for this role. When all was said and done, however, Daniel was left feeling sad and underwhelmed with the film. When he explained his feelings towards his retirement, it almost sounded as though he's lost the enjoyment of acting, as he told sources, quote, "I've been interested in acting since I was 12 years old, and back then, everything other than theater, that box of light, was cast in shadow. When I began, it was a question of salvation. Now I want to explore the world in a different way," end quote.
And at number 10, Jack Gleeson. Jack Gleeson was one of the breakout stars of the massive HBO hit Game of Thrones. Jack played Joffrey Baratheon, who was one of the supervillains of the show. This role skyrocketed him to fame overnight. And even though Gleeson enjoys acting, he hated the fame that came with it, especially since his character was awful, and sometimes his awful character would spill over to real life, with fans berating him on the streets and swearing at him because of his role. This negative attention got so bad he actually decided to quit acting altogether and stop his budding career in its tracks. He went back to school, and since graduating, he is now acting in the theaters, where he can practice his craft with minimal fame. And at number 9, Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart is an actress that loves the craft, but she's vocal about her disdain for fame. And she has a unique perspective, being at the center of one of the largest movie franchises in history, Twilight, of course. And while there are tons of celebrities who love the fame and attention, Kristen has always shied away from it. But she does not regret the success that she's had in her career. She's often seen flipping off paparazzi and trying to get away from the flashing lights. In one interview on the subject, she said, quote, "I never valued the fame thing as much as I valued the experiences I got to do while working. And it perplexed me so much. Some people were like, 'You ungrateful a-hole.' And I was like, yeah, completely. I don't want to be famous. I want to do my work." And at number 8, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is one of the most well-known actors ever, as he's been acting for decades. But he often has difficulty with the fame. In one interview, he said fame is, a quote, "a little bit like living like a fugitive. Everything has to be some sort of strategy to get you into the hotel, to get you out of the hotel, to get you into a restaurant, to get you out of the restaurant." And in a 2011 interview with Larry King, Depp said that being a celebrity makes him, quote, "very uncomfortable," adding, quote, "I don't think it's anything you ever get used to. For many years, I could never sort of put my name in the same category as the word famous or anything like that. And because of all this, he decides to be incredibly private about his life online." And at number 7, Kourtney Kardashian. Now that the Kardashians have reached fame to the likes that we've never seen before, it's understandable that not all members of the family are happy about it. The one member of the family that has been most vocal about her desire to live a normal life is Kourtney, saying in an interview, quote, "I don't want the show to end, but I sometimes think I would be so happy if it did and I could just move away from it all." And it's understandable that she feels negatively about it, because it's highly speculated that all the negative attention on her relationship with Scott caused its downfall, because she was the most open about her personal life in the beginning of the show. Because of that sacrifice, she's now the most private Kardashian sister. And at number 6, George Clooney. We all obviously know that George Clooney is a legendary actor, but he keeps his personal life very private because he doesn't like the spotlight. When talking about his struggles with fame, he said, quote, "What's the guy in the big house on the big hill got to complain about? The truth is, the big house on the hill is isolating. There's no other way to say it. There are restrictions to this kind of fame. I haven't walked in Central Park for 15 years. I'd like to, you know?" In some ways, the star said he feels cheated out of a normal life, and he wants to have more of a normal life. He even recently spoke of how he doesn't have a desire to act much anymore. Halfway at number 5, Megan Fox. Megan Fox has recently been very vocal about her disdain for fame and how negative media treatment made her feel horrible about herself. She became a household name thanks to the Transformers movies, but I knew her first from Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, not to brag or anything. At the height of her fame, she spoke about downsides. During an interview with Esquire in 2013, she said, quote, "I don't think people understand. They all think you should shut the F up and stop complaining because you live in a big house or you drive a Bentley. So your life must be so great. What people don't realize is that fame, whatever your worst experience in high school, when you were being bullied by those 10 kids in high school, fame is that, but on a global scale, where you're being bullied by millions of people constantly." And at the time, whatever misogynistic attention she spoke about was brushed aside, with people essentially hating on her because of her looks. She was out of the spotlight for a long time because of all this, but recently came back to star in her first movie in years. And at number 4, Macaulay Culkin. This one is somewhat of a given with how negatively his child stardom has affected his life. Macaulay Culkin has been open about all the downsides of fame, and it was a lot harder for him because his fame was not a choice, and he started acting at a very young age. Despite having retreated from the spotlight nearly 26 years ago, Culkin is still suffering from the backlash of fame. Talking about fame, he said, quote, "I'll take walks at 2 or 4 in the morning because there's nobody out on the streets and it's easy for me to go unnoticed. But even if I don't get bugged, it's looming. It's there." Because of all this, he has chosen to live life outside of the spotlight. And at number 3, Justin Bieber. Although Justin was not a child when he was thrust into the spotlight, he was still very young. And when he gained stardom as a preteen, he reached heights never seen before. Recently, Justin has been vocal about his trouble with fame, and how his insane fame actually made him incredibly lonely. Bieber has also had tons of negative run-ins with the paparazzi that have even turned physical. When speaking about this, Justin said there are people around him constantly, quote, "all the time, and I feel isolated. You're in your hotel room and there are fans all around, paparazzi following you everywhere, and it gets intense. When you can't go anywhere or do anything alone, you get depressed," even saying that he has regretted becoming famous sometimes. And at number 2, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf was a child star who managed to continue his success into early adulthood, but he quickly went off the rails when the fame became too much. Dozens of arrests and social embarrassments have caused LaBeouf to take on some online heat. At one point in 2014, he had enough and announced on Twitter that he was leaving public life. While the actor might still have a profound love for acting, he has expressed his regret for being famous multiple times. He even went so far as to wear a paper bag that had, quote, "I'm not famous anymore," written on it at a red carpet. Another time was in 2015 when he told Variety that to be a celebrity is to be, quote, "enslaved." And finally, number 1, Dave Chappelle. When The Chappelle Show first came out in 2003, Dave Chappelle became a famous celebrity overnight. But he ended up leaving the show early and walking away from $50 million just to get out of the spotlight. When talking about the decision to leave, Chappelle said, quote, "Chappelle shows like breaking up with a girl and you still like her. But in your mind, you're like, she's crazy. I'm not going back." Apparently, fame was a big part of the reason that he left, adding, quote, "Fame is not that kind of scary, but it is. Fame is a horrifying concept when it's aimed at you, you know? At the end of the day, you don't have that much control over it. You just try and conduct yourself as best as you can." Adding that he's much happier now that he took time to rest, develop a relationship with his kids, and live normally outside of the spotlight.
Coming in at number 10 today, we have Miley Cyrus, entering into the spotlight at a young age thanks to her role on the show Hannah Montana, which co-starred her dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, who was a huge country star in the early 90s. At the time, the two shared a close bond, however, jump to today, and the two are no longer on speaking terms. A source would then spill to the Sun that Billy Ray's divorce to Miley's mom, Tish, had a massive impact on the Wrecking Ball hitmaker, who had unfollowed her dad on social media. While speaking about the ongoing feud, the source would then mention Miley is all about peace, but she didn't agree with some things that her father has done. It really escalated, and they are not on good terms. Neither of them at this moment are particularly eager to make amends right now without an apology. Apparently, their disagreement all started when Billy Ray Cyrus got engaged to his new girlfriend, Fire Rose, who he met on the set as one of the young actresses working on Hannah Montana with Miley. Number 9, Drew Barrymore. Many people don't know that Drew Barrymore comes from a family full of actors, which starts with her great-grandparents who were both stage actors and since has continued on as each generation of her family has had members that have gained some measures of success in the industry. For instance, Lionel Barrymore, who was born in 1978, was best known for playing Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life, and Drew's mother, Jade, is not
not the most successful member of the clan, but she was acting in a large array of projects and earned herself some notoriety when Jade also did pose for Playboy. And she's mostly just famous because of Drew's successful acting career. Considering that Drew followed her into the industry, you may have forgotten at one point of their lives they seem to be pretty close, but that's actually not the case, as Drew is pretty much estranged from her mom, and she's even been quoted saying, "Can't really be in each other's lives." Being emancipated from her parents since the age of 14, Drew knew she had to get away from her mother at a young age because at the age of 9, her mother was making her adopt this party lifestyle while bringing her to Studio 54. While Drew was able to forgive her parents, she said that she will always be there for her mom, but sometimes she realizes that their chemistry and behavior will drum up a feeling that makes her say that she needs a break again. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Kate Hudson. Back in 2021, Kate Hudson would open up about her complex family dynamic, including her estrangement from her father. In an interview with Today, the actress would speak about growing up distant from her dad, who is a musician and actor, Bill Hudson. In the interview, Kate would say, "I think estrangement is unfortunately quite common. I think it's important for people to talk about that. If they can't reconnect or if it's too challenging, that's okay, right? I have a great family, I have a beautiful mother, I have a stepfather who stepped in and played a huge part in sharing what it is to have a dependable father figure in our life. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we didn't know our dad. Even though Kate is estranged from her dad, she would note that she has gone through a process that made her look at her dad and realize that she does still have love for him and that the love will never go anywhere. However, her healing process has been pretty personal, and she feels like sometimes people just want to hear that they're not alone in that. Number 7. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is one of those celebrities that was so big at one point in the industry that she actually was able to make her family become minor celebrities. But it's pretty sad to say that her parents owe their low level of fame due to their dysfunctional relationship with their daughter. Things between Lindsay Lohan and her mother Dina have been pretty difficult in the past, with the actress and singer making several negative statements about her mother, but it seems like it's really Lindsay's dad Michael that Lindsay has the most troubles with, as Lindsay has even revealed her distaste for her father by even going as far to record a song that highlighted her treatment from her father. And she has even once described her father Michael as being a lunatic. Just by judging their past history, we can totally understand why Lindsay has chosen to live her life without her father's shadow, as he has done some pretty outrageous things to her. For an example, do you remember when he once recorded a phone call she made to him when she felt like her mother was out of control, and then he turned around and sold the private conversation to the media? If your parents saw you as a commodity to give them fame and money, you'd probably turn away from them as well too. Number 6. Brody Jenner. Now Brody Jenner is famous due to the accomplishment of people he is related to. That is actually a thing that is possible in modern society. Now if you don't know who Brody Jenner is, he is the son of an athlete who competed as Bruce Jenner, who later married into the Kardashian family and then publicly transitioned into becoming the beautiful Caitlyn Jenner, and the stepson of Kris Jenner, the leader of the Kardashian media empire. While Brody was briefly featured on the reality TV series Keeping Up with the Kardashians at one time, things have since gotten a little less cordial. After she and Caitlyn had been separated, Brody has not kept his feelings towards his former stepmother or her children a secret. He even came for the Kardashian empire when he was quoted saying that the Kardashians are not his family, but more of a profanity-laced manner at Coachella in 2016. In an earlier interview, he would also reveal that he had cut ties with Kris. Number 5. Angelina Jolie. Arguably at one point, Angelina was the biggest actress in the world, and she will always be remembered for her roles in films like Tomb Raider, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Maleficent, and many more. Being the daughter of Jon Voight, her dad was also one of the most famous actors in the world at one point due to his work in movies like Midnight Cowboy and Deliverance, and still gets regular acting work to this day. Running in a lot of the same circles, you would think that this quality may draw them closer to another, but it's far from that case. It appears that both actors have struggled to have a strong relationship since Angelina was 8 years old. While it looks like they've had moments of reconciliation, signs of severe rifts have surfaced. While Jon has pleaded with Angelina to get help in some public interviews, instead of listening to her dad, she's taken things to another level and completely erased him from her life. She even legally changed her name from Angelina Jolie Voight to Angelina Jolie, to obviously make a jab at her father, which is actually pretty messed up. Number 4, the Jacksons. There is no doubt that the Jackson family is one of the most celebrated families when it comes to the history of music. First coming into prominence due to the Jackson 5, they would gain huge success. Nobody could have ever expected the group would be that huge and overshadowed in the years to come. When Michael went out on his own as a solo star, he became one of the biggest celebrities alive and was nicknamed the King of Pop for good reasons. Not one to stay in the shadows, even his little sister Janet would follow her brothers into the music industry and outdid everyone other than Michael, whose career she arguably rivaled with at one time. With so many superstars coming from one single family, it looks like they can owe a lot of their acclaimed fame to their father Joe, who from all the accounts pushed them hard to be as close as perfect as possible. Unfortunately, that came in the forms of physical altercations, which he admitted to in 2010, and because of that, he was seen by his kids and much of the public as a monster, especially when it came to his altercations with Michael Jackson. As a result, there have been reports that Michael couldn't forgive him, and Joe has largely been excommunicated from his large family. Number 3, Anna Chickadee Cardwell. For those of you who aren't really fans of reality TV, then you may have no idea who Anna Chickadee Cardwell is. But for anyone who enjoys reality TV, then you most likely know who she is, thanks to the spin-off of a highly controversial show called Toddlers in Tiaras. The show Here Comes Honey Boo Boo focused on a unique beauty pageant family that all go by interesting nicknames like Sugar Bear and Chubbs, and one of the daughters who went by Chickadee. And she's grown up and has her own family since the cancellation of the show that introduced her to the world. Her relationship with her mother has become strained, publicly claiming that Mama June, as she is known, misappropriated the funds she earned from appearing on the show. It's clear that Anna holds a lot of anger towards her mother. While June has continued to deny Anna's claims, she has stated that the money was sent directly to her daughter's bank account, and the distrust between them means that June is not allowed to have unsupervised contact with her granddaughter. And number 2, we have Demetrius Bell. When Demetrius Bell first got drafted into the Buffalo Bills NFL team in 2008, Bell played well enough that he was able to continue to play for the Cowboys as late as 2013. Like all professionals, he has been the topic of a lot of discussions, but his career isn't the first reason he has been on the lips of people. That is because he is the son of 14-time NBA All-Star player Karl Malone, and his relationship with his dad has never been anything close to controversial. The child of Gloria Bell, who was only 13 years old at the time of his birth, and his father, who was 20 the year he was born, spent years denying he fathered a child with a minor. When Bell finally learned about his parentage and met his father after graduating from high school, he finally met his father, and his father would tell him it was too late to have a father and son relationship. According to reports, Bell is said to be ashamed of the relationship he shares with his father, which is a strong indication that he has a lot of justified anger towards his father. Number 1, Frances Bean Cobain. Being the child of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain and his wife Courtney Love, who fronted the band Hole, since Frances Bean Cobain was born, she was instantly put into a position that meant the world was likely to pay attention to her. And while it seemed like she should have had a life full of luxury and peace, it was actually far from that. When Frances's father took his own life when she was a child, Courtney would fall into perils of substance and addiction, and Frances's home life would become very difficult. Despite being a child of music icon, Frances doesn't see her father in the same light that much as the world sees her father in. Instead, Frances feels like Kurt abandoned her in the worst possible way, and she isn't exactly fond of her mom. When Frances was finally able to emancipate herself from her mother, Frances would break off nearly all contact she had with her mother for years, to the point that when Frances tweeted out to her mom in 2012, it was seen as a breakthrough between them.
Number 10, Billie Eilish. Billie is one of the best musicians around right now. You show anyone a picture of her or even play 1 second of the song Bad Guy, the instant answer is Billie Eilish. While Billie has been making music for a long time, she hasn't always enjoyed the fame that comes with it. In 2020, she revealed that the pressure started really kicking in around 2016, having to deal with many things that would make most adults crumble. She was still a teen at the time, and having a massive crowd gathering around you every time you step outside isn't as fun as it sounds. roles. In the interview with the LA Times, she explained that she hated going outside. Being recognized by anyone was panic-inducing. She just wanted to do normal teenage things without being spotted by paparazzi. She then explained that being locked in her home in 2020 actually helped her reflect on her situation and grow as an individual. It's understandable that the pressure that she had that young made her feel uncomfortable. I mean, look at how many child actors quit acting for the exact same reasons. That and a lot of DUIs. Number 9, Brad Pitt. In 2019, Brad sat down with Entertainment Tonight Canada to discuss things that drive him to take the roles he chooses to take. Pitt has been around since the mid-1990s and has gone nowhere but up and away. While he's not much of a franchise man, Pitt has been a busy bee starring in several blockbuster hits like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and so many more. Despite being a megastar, Brad has actually struggled with his fame over the years. He actually got very introspective in the interview, explaining the struggle wasn't the glitz and the glamour, but rather the distance that was growing between himself and everyone in his life. He says that as he got older, the people he surrounded himself with had become more and more important to him. He goes on to say that his time working on set meant that he wouldn't be able to enjoy things that he wished to do with his money, like traveling the world. Even though he's filmed in some pretty luxurious locations, actors rarely get enough free time to actually enjoy the scenery. It seems that Brad's been able to get over his gripes and now leaves time for himself between films to get groovy. Number 8, Jim Carrey. Jim's considered to be one of the funniest men in history. In 1995 alone, he had 3 blockbuster comedies make it big at the box office with Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. As the years have gone by, his films have been a roller coaster of genres. He slowly started moving into the realm of real films like Yes Man and The Number 23. That movie was really when people started to wonder if things were okay with Jim, and according to Jim himself, he was more than fine, he was learning. Jim has become a very introspective person as time has gone on, becoming more and more spiritual and sure of himself. He slowed down in the acting world and started painting, creating some beautiful and disturbing pieces in his studio in New York, but the world of Hollywood wasn't letting him go so easy. Jim starred as Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman, in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movies that gave Jim the modern-day boost he needed to pop back into the mainstream. However, while being interviewed on the red carpet for Sonic 2, Jim explained that there was so many things over the years that he has been forced to ignore because of how busy he's been, joking that there was 25 years of Mystery Science Theater to catch up on. He goes on to say that his paintings will soon be available as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, a word that I did not think would ever come from Jim Carrey's mouth. In recent interviews, Jim has been pretty adamant about quitting the acting world forever, so it's looking more and more like that last Sonic movie may be his last film, period. Number 7, Daniel Radcliffe. Dan the man with the plan can play Peter Pan. I nailed it. Mr. Radcliffe, of course, rose to fame when he was just 12, portraying the iconic magical misfit Harry Potter in the film series based on the novels by J.K. Rowling. Dan is one of the few child actors who continued to work following the end of their franchise, being in every genre imaginable, from dramatic art piece films like Swiss Army Man to the action thriller Men's Akimbo, I can't say the first word, to the horror flick Women in Black. Dan proved that he was more than a scar and some glasses. Now, of course, starting to be such a big name at such a young age had a massive effect on Dan. Growing up in one of the most profitable franchises of all time, he would make regular appearances at conventions and in studios. Apparently, he experienced a lot of hate for some reason because fans would boo him when he walked on stage, something that he claims to be long-lasting and anxiety fuel. Thankfully, the harsh words never stopped him from doing what he loved, appearing in 8 Harry Potter movies before morphing into the Hollywood A-lister that he is today. Number 6, Kylie Jenner. Kylie is one of the younger members of the Kardashian clan. Being rich and famous at such a young age has apparently dramatically impacted her day-to-day. In an interview from 2015, Jenner said that she woke up every morning with the worst anxiety, claiming to launch out of bed around 7 or 6 because she's nervous that there's going to be some negative article waiting for her to deal with. Fear is warranted, as over the years her name has been on the front page of media outlets quite a few times for various scandals and rumors. Unfortunately, though, most of the things that have been revealed have been proven to be true, like the mistreatment of employees at her cosmetic factory, or the fact that she lied to Forbes about how rich she was, stuff like that. Number 5, Megan Fox. One of 2 Transformers alumni that'll be on this list is Megan Fox, who is one of the few people that hated acting so much that they did eventually retire. Megan was of course the hottest woman in Hollywood in the mid-2000s, but following her departure from the Transformers franchise, things started to take a turn. She was being casted in less and less, seemingly due to her bashing Hollywood any chance that she had. The reason she was let go from Transformers was because she referred to Michael Bay as a former leader of Germany whose name rhymes with Schmittler. Between 2012 and 2023, Megan only starred in one big blockbuster flick, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live-action series. So bad it was remade into an animated feature this year and it made millions. Megan actually called out Hollywood a few times in the past, claiming that the process behind developing a film and casting the project was disgusting. She felt like an object many times in her career, and rightfully so. Every scene of Megan during the day in Transformers looks like it's an Axe body spray commercial or a clip from Spike TV. While she is adamant that she absolutely hates being famous, she seems to be appearing in movies again, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe Hollywood likes it when their actor teases them, gives them a little tingle in the downstairs, you know? Gate. Number 4, George Clooney. George was a massive star in Hollywood, being deemed a Hollywood heartthrob thanks to his work on the hit series ER. Over the years, Clooney's career has been filled with many hits like Ocean's 11, as well as a brief stint as Batman in 1997 that I will never let him live down. In recent years, things have slowed down drastically for the heartthrob, being casted in less and less roles the closer we got to this year. His last 2 roles were in The Flash and Ticket to Paradise with Julia Roberts, both of which received terrible box office return. This may have something to do with George believing that Hollywood is an extremely toxic place. In an interview with IndieWire, Clooney said that fame can be very dangerous. While he's maintained a rather humble approach to life, that wasn't always the case. George recounted how early in his career he enjoyed the sneaky nature of the press. He enjoyed the fame being delivered to him on a daily basis, and it eventually messed with his mental health. Over the years, he tried to separate himself from his projects once they wrapped up, but these days he spends a lot of time away from the spotlight, instead being just a full-time human trying to exist. Number 3, Shia LaBeouf. Shia is an interesting man. For a long time, he was Hollywood's go-to funny guy to throw into a movie and TV shows, but since 2015, he's existed in this weird space between superstar and just super jerk. Over the years, many situations involving Shia, including everything from shoving a dude to mistreating his ex, have been brought to light. This was part of the reason that he slowly started being casted in less and less projects, with his last big franchise being the 3rd Transformers movie. Since he's had a slew of indie and passion projects, but according to Shia himself, the entire idea of Hollywood is soul-crushing. During a Q&A at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2015, he claimed that there was little to no inclusivity in the industry, that he was a product for the studio to sell, and then he went off into a bit of a tangent that I won't quote fully because it will cause headaches. But to summarize in English that we can understand, Shia hated being famous for being someone's puppet and not for his own creative material. As we know, Shia hasn't retired from acting, but following the revelations, he has appeared in far more indie projects, which means he's given almost complete creative control, as showcased in the 2019 award-winning film Honey Boy, which was loosely based on his life. Number 2, Robert Pattinson. Robert rose to fame thanks to playing the sparkly man with the plan, Edward Cullen, in the live-action Twilight series, and while many are under the impression that being a part of such an iconic role would be a game changer for most, for Robert it was just a waking nightmare. Sitting down for an interview in 2015, Rob gets real about the insanity that followed the release of Twilight. As one would expect, he was bombarded by fans in the streets constantly. People were literally sitting outside of his house waiting for him to emerge, and it just drove him crazy. He didn't go into a supermarket in person for over 6 years, but these days he can actually exist in public since the Twilight stuff has kind of died down. He was honest in the interview and expressed that he is one of the most uncomfortable people in his normal life, and it took him a very long time to reach the level of comfort that he has now. All the fame of being an actor has little impact on him these days, as he has become a much more serious actor with films like The Batman and Tenet under his belt. Thankfully, the whole Twilight thing is over and done with for now. Well, but a prequel to The Hunger Games did just come out, so Twilight prequel? Number 1. Gigi Hadid. The Hadid modeling empire is strong, with Gigi being one of 2 Hadids roaming the runways of Paris. Despite coming from a wealthy family and living one of the most lavish lifestyles around, Gigi actually hates everything about it. According to herself, being busy for long periods of time means she isn't able to make time for people who she actually cares about in her life. She has lost a lot of friends over the years simply because she was unavailable and they drifted apart. This is a fair reason to hate your fame, but at the same time, if your friends can't respect that you're across the world modeling Chanel and Louis Vuitton, maybe they don't deserve to be your friends. Besides, I have seen Gigi's Coca-Cola ad, and she said she loves doing game night with her friends all the time. You trying to tell me Gigi Hadid lied? That's fair, she probably did.
Coming in number 10 today, we have the Kardashians. For years, the Kardashian family has often been criticized for being famous for doing nothing. Thanks to Kris Jenner, nobody would probably know their names if she didn't leak a certain tape of her eldest daughter, Kim Kardashian. While her family may now be millionaires and billionaires thanks to their many companies within the clothing and beauty industry, they still try to claim that they work hard to be where they are today. However, if it wasn't for their insane drama and big peaches, we probably wouldn't even know their names, let's face it. Kris Jenner was smart and she used this to her advantage, and with her power she was able to make her family the most famous family in Hollywood. Like, everyone knows that if you want to go anywhere at this point, you have to get in with the Kardashian family, as once you befriend the whole family, a lot of doors open up and it will help you get to where you need to go. Just look at Blac Chyna and Tyga. No one really knew who they were, and now they're pretty much household names. However, outside all the drama with this family, what are they actually famous for? So Kendall is a model. But what does the rest of the family do other than complain about the reason that people aren't making it into the industry is because they aren't waking up every day to work their hardest. It seems like today, they're only in the spotlight for their toxic image that they impose on weight loss, and how being skinny is the only thing you can do to be pretty. Number 9, Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is blowing up online due to his controversial opinions on being a man and making money, and it's creating headlines across the web. While he's often endorsed a misogynistic culture, he has also admitted to scamming guys on the internet. When he is not creating harmful content on social media, he is frequently seen flaunting his yachts, Bugattis, and wealth. And by now you're probably wishing that this guy never even rose to fame. With Andrew preaching about how women belong to men and men can do anything they want to them, shows that Andrew has zero respect for women. And his recent arrest in Romania shows that this guy is garbage. And he's just as garbage as we all believed him to be. Andrew's viewers tend to be misogynistic men like him, as well as naive adolescent boys who just can't get girls to like them. With his content being dangerous to view, these younger individuals have come so heavily influenced by Tate that they have even adopted this misogynistic and racist view that he's expressed on all of his platforms. Examples include how Tate uses racial slurs in his tweets and has degraded women on his podcast for having no innate responsibility or honor. Like, I don't know why the world has a tendency of making such garbage people famous, but out of all the people, why do men love this guy so much? Like, there's nothing impressive. Like, he's even too scared to get into a ring with Logan Paul because he knows he'll lose. While his presence on social media has started to diminish, it's clear people like Tate don't deserve fame or money, and they're not worth the spotlight at all. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Chris Brown. At one point, Chris Brown represented the future of pop and R&B music. With his Michael Jackson-like dance moves, cute boyish looks, and songs about chasing girls in school, now he's all grown up, tatted, and sings about wetting the bed and making headlines. The trending topic on Twitter, and it seems like every week is just a different topic. So why has Chris Brown become a celebrity that everyone loves, but at the same time loves to hate? Over the years, Chris has had beef with multiple celebrities, and each time there is beef, Chris always seems to be in the wrong, as he always takes things way too far. While he was an extremely talented artist, I can only imagine the amount of pressure one must have when living under a microscope. Everything you do or say judged by millions of people. But even with saying that, Even being stressed from your job can't justify your actions. And honestly, it just baffles me why people even choose to support him after he has a long history of being violent with women. So why are we supporting him? Number 7. James Corden. James Corden is only popular for his role as a late-night talk show host. But even though everyone knows who he isn't exactly everyone's favorite cup of tea. And a lot of people have actually expressed their dislike towards him. While James has gone on to become one of the most popular talk show hosts in recent years, his popularity hasn't always come with the audience's full approval. While his work in movies such as Into the Woods, Cats, and Trolls could easily make him a beloved figure in the entertainment industry, he has been deemed as being annoying and has earned the dislike of the audience over the years over various reasons. While the reason so many people dislike James Corden has been fueled by different events, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, it's clear that he shouldn't be famous and none of us should buy into his nice guy image. And on more than one occasion, he's actually been caught being rude and fake in interviews and in his shows when talking to his guests. James is known to interrupt or talk over people, and he has the constant need to sing over his guests in his fan favorite segment, Carpool Karaoke. Also, let's not forget how he's rude to servers at restaurants. To me, it seems like James has never worked a customer service job, and that's why he has zero respect for people. Number 6, Jake and Logan Paul. It just seems like everything Jake and Logan Paul do lately is highly controversial, and it makes you wonder why the brothers even rose to fame in the beginning, and how they were even able to stay on top despite all the negative things they seem to do. Sure, both brothers are extremely good looking, but do good looks just give you a free pass in the industry to get away with dumb behavior? Both brothers rose to fame after they started out on Vine by sharing prank videos that amassed millions of views. After the video sharing app shut down in 2016, they would take their talents to YouTube and Instagram, and they would continue to gain millions of fans. And since their rise to fame, multiple controversies and legal issues have followed them. Despite their controversial lifestyle, the brothers have somehow managed to grow their fame through acting and boxing, making them more than just internet sensations. The Paul brothers' seemingly endless controversies over the years have been polarizing to watch. With Jake facing multiple lawsuits, SA allegations, and have been accused of terrorizing his neighbors. He even lost his gig on the Disney Channel show, Bizarre Bark. Yet it seems like even with scandals and allegations, the brothers have been able to continue on because their fans still remain unfazed by their actions, which is pretty disturbing. Number 5, Addison Rae. So something's really been bothering me since the release of TikToker Addison Rae's He's All That movie. Like, if entering into 2023, we could just not cast TikTok stars in shows and movies, it would be great because it's clear fame doesn't correlate with talent. It seems like TikTokers who become famous often branch out exploring other talents such as those in the music or movie industry. And every time I have to listen to a song or watch the movie, I have to think, who thought this was a good idea? Now mind you, some have actually been able to cross the platform and make it into other industries such as Bella Poarch, but it seems like for some, they think they can just hide behind their smiles to distract us away from their poor acting. Cough cough, Addison Rae. Addison's acting and He's All That was notorious at its best, as the acting was pretty much comparable to the kids on the Disney Channel. If the movie actually starred a trained actress, it probably could have lived up to its hit 1999 predecessor, She's All That. Since influencers are already in the position of power and money, opportunities are often just handed to them. And many don't have to work to achieve their goals, which bothers me the most. Those in the acting industry have paid thousands of dollars to attend classes to make names for themselves. And that's why influencers on TikTok shouldn't have the ability to become actors instantly without any preparation just because they're famous figures. Number 4, Elon Musk. The overwhelming news flow that comes along with Elon Musk and his company just makes all of our heads hurt. And it's actually, to be honest, pretty weird to watch a bunch of famous people scream at each other over Twitter constantly. While they are always trying to do some righteous combat online, I honestly just want to take out my phone and look at pictures of my cat while it all unfolds. Now, there are essentially two distinct narratives when it comes to Elon, and they are, in their simplest terms, 1, Elon is a hero, and 2, Elon is a villain. But if I had a third option, honestly, it would be who cares, and why are we even talking about this guy as he's just a normal guy with an unusual amount of money. To support any of his moves, you practically choose to emphasize certain facts and de-emphasize others, and you literally accuse everyone that writes about Musk in a big picture way of cherry picking. While his narrative has definitely been divided between genius and villain, it becomes so large that trying to just get back up to speed on all of his drama just makes me not want to come into work and read about it. Like, I get it. The dude is filthy rich and he's highly controversial as he tries to make the world a dangerous place while implementing free speech. But do we have to make all rich people famous? Because Elon is just someone I would like to forget about at this point. Number 3, the royal family. While the Queen was pretty popular, there have been a series of public relation disasters that have tarnished the rest of the royal family. And while Charles has taken over the throne, it makes us wonder if the UK will soon abolish the monarchy. Now, the institution itself continues to enjoy broad support, and with the UK under unprecedented strain from the Scottish separatism, proves that it may be hard for any future monarch to be able to provide the same steady influence as Queen Elizabeth did. While many controversies never touch the Queen, it's bound to make things even more difficult for Charles, who has been subjected to intense scrutiny. Especially since people still believe that the royal family had something to do with the passing of Princess Diana. The whole family is just a giant symbol of what's wrong with the world, and it makes me question, why do we even still have a monarchy at this point? Like, what are they truly doing that the world leaders aren't currently doing? Like, let's be real here. Charles is going to have to find someone to help him fill in Elizabeth's shoes, as it's definitely going to take 2 men to do her job. As we're not just questioning the monarchy at this point, but the country that produced it. Like, we're honestly not in the medieval times anymore, and we need to step away from the whole one family rules the world type of thing. Number 2, James Charles. There's something about James Charles still being famous after trying to talk to younger boys that just doesn't sit right with me. Or can we also bring up the fact that he hangs out with younger kids that became famous on TikTok? Something about that just gives me the ick. At this point, it only seems like he's famous because he's influenced by fame, power, and a fat bank account. But his actions just prove that he's a bad role model, and there's something that's just really sus about him. Even while he has become one of the most hated influencers around the controversial situations he's found himself in, it seems like fans still believe he wasn't completely in the wrong for any of them. A majority of people just didn't care to follow the drama surrounding the beauty community because they found it just cringy. Like, he's clearly a terrible person, there's no denying that, but at this point, he's just famous for being famous, and it's kind of really hard to see why he's still on the top when he's not even talented nor charismatic. Number 1, Dr. Phil. Okay, I honestly hate cancel culture, but if there's one person that needs to be canceled, it's Dr. Phil. How this man still has a show is beyond me. Dr. Phil has pretty much become a controversial figure since he became one of the highest paid celebrities in Hollywood. With him having some flamboyant cases of people with problems, he has somehow managed to build an audience who will boo and make fun of his guests rather than call him out on his outrageous behavior. While he claims to give some free treatment, there have been claims of abuse at a ranch-type facility treatment that he sends minors to. A young woman claims that she was not even allowed to call home, and even Bad Baby has confirmed that she witnessed some heartbreaking things go down on the ranch, and called Dr. Phil out on it. What's even more concerning is that Dr. Phil doesn't even have a license to practice any of this in any state. Although he does have the proper education, credentials, he has often stated that he doesn't like one-on-one therapy, but he'll do it just to humiliate you in front of an audience. There's something about messing with someone's mental health publicly, let alone behind closed doors, that bothers me, and it's kind of outrageous that people think it's okay when he does it.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Danny Lloyd. For decades, people have been wondering whatever happened to the kid from the iconic horror movie The Shining. Like legit, horror fans have actually asked the author, Stephen King, where the kid went. Turns out he left the Hollywood glitz and glam to become a pig farmer and a science teacher. No, this is not a joke. Danny was only 5 years old at the time when he took on the role as Danny Torrance in the 1980 classic and reached fame almost instantly. But he didn't seem to want it. He is now in his 40s and is happily married with 6 children. In 2013, he did his first interview since he was a kid with Daily News, where he opened up about his now normal life. He said that people don't recognize him when he goes out in public, and he loves that. He explained that he did continue acting after The Shining, but ended up giving up when he was a teenager because it was just too difficult. He said, "We kept trying for several years until I was in high school, and I stopped at about 14 with almost no success." Danny says he enjoyed being in the movie, but went on to work at a local Walmart after, and then drove a tractor on a hog farm. Now he is teaching biology at a community college outside of Louisville. Fans were hoping to see him reprise his role for the upcoming sequel, Dr. Sleep, but sadly he is sitting this one out. Coming into number 9 is Mara Wilson. She is best remembered for playing Matilda in the 1996 film titled after her character. Kids were quick to fall in love with her character and the magical powers that came with it. In fact, we are still talking about Matilda to this day. Earlier this year there was a trending game called the Matilda Challenge, which had people making videos of them dancing around the room and pretending to make objects move. Just like her iconic scene from the movie, which I totally loved. The challenge went viral and Marley even reacted to them.
I'm glad they get it.
Matilda challenge. Oh, Matilda! Matilda.
I love that they know it. I'm amazed that there were several of them who just got it right away without knowing.
But regardless of how fun her character was, Marla would disagree, which is why she quit the business just a few years after the movie brought her fame. In one of her blogs in 2012, she wrote, "Here's something no real celebrity will ever tell you. Film acting is not very fun." Well then, after leaving Hollywood, she went on to live a normal life and found a passion for writing. In 2013, she was asked if she would return to acting, and her response was, "No, I don't think so. I do act sometimes in friends' projects, but when I do, it's just for fun. It is actually a hobby for me now." We haven't seen her on the big screen in a long time, but she continues to work on screenplays and novels. Swiping the number 8 spot is Shirley Temple. She began acting at the young age of 3 and became Hollywood's biggest box office child star in the 30s. I mean, who hasn't heard of Shirley Temple? I'm pretty sure we were all sick of her song "Animal Crackers in My Soup" after singing it every time that we had a bowl of soup as a kid. Or maybe that was just me. By the time she was 12, she starred in 43 movies and tons of commercials. But by the time she was 22 years old, she decided she wanted to retire from acting. She ended up changing her career path entirely and ran for Congress in 1967. She lost, but then 2 years later, she was appointed to represent the US at the United Nations. She then became the US ambassador to Ghana from 1974 to 1976. Who would have thought the Animal Cracker Girl would end up in politics? Sadly, she did pass away in 2014 at the age of 85, but her memory lives on forever. In Hollywood and in politics. Talk about a life full of achievements there. At number 7 is Jeff Cohen. The child star was famously known for his role as Chunk in The Goonies, which is one hell of a classic movie. The movie came out in 1985 and he continued his acting career up until 1991. So if you do the math, that is a total of 6 years. Not very long. He's been asked on numerous occasions why he left the industry. He cracks jokes saying that puberty forced him into early retirement as a child actor. He explains that as he got older, finding work was a lot more difficult. The roles were different and the competition increased as he got more involved in the industry. But once acting was out of the picture, he found a passion for law and attended the University of California, Berkeley, earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. He had no problem leaving the world of Hollywood behind. He ended up becoming a lawyer, and in 2008 he was named one of the top 35 executives under 35 years of age. So he's a successful one at that. He says that acting has benefited his legal career because it makes him more empathetic for his clients and less academic. Basically meaning that he can show more emotion. I feel that. Here we are at number 6 with Kay Panabaker. She made her on-screen debut when she was 12 years old. She first became popular after taking on the role as Nikki in the Summerland TV series and then later on as Jenny in the 2009 Fame movie remake. She also starred alongside her sister Danielle Panabaker for a few Disney Channel shows and movies. But throughout her time filming, she was also going through school and trying to do advanced courses. She actually graduated from high school at the age of 13. So she was one smart little cookie, which might be why she decided to leave her acting career and go to school full-time. She ended up going to the UCLA and studied zoology. From there, she got her dream job as an animal keeper at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The now 29-year-old has said that she doesn't regret her decision and loves what she's doing now. I mean, that's a pretty sweet gig. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Peter Ostrom. You might remember him as Charlie Bucket from the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie back in 1971. He was only 12 years old when he got selected to play the role, and although he enjoyed working on it, he decided not to sign a 3-film contract once the movie was over. He returned home after filming the movie and just never felt the desire to go back, continue to pursue his acting career. He says being at home sparked an interest in horses and he wanted to become a veterinarian one day instead. He ended up going to Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine in 1984 to receive his certificate. Later on in 2005, he moved to New York with his wife and 2 children, and as of 2018, he works out of the Countryside Veterinarian Clinic. As for acting, he says that he wanted to live a normal life and had declined reporters and interviews for a very long period of time. He explained, saying, "I wanted people to judge me on who I was, not what I'd done." He even said that sometimes in his childhood, he lied and told people that it was his brother in the movie, not him. I wonder how many people actually fell for that and believed him. Next up at number 4 is Ariana Richards. She will forever be remembered for her role as Lex Murphy in the 1993 Jurassic Park. She was only 14 years old when she booked the role. She just so happened to be one of the grandchildren of Jurassic Park's creator. Talk about having some connections. She actually started her acting career 6 years before Jurassic Park, but it was the one role that put her name on the map. Basically, it was her big break. After that, she appeared in multiple movies and also had a cameo appearance in The Lost World Jurassic Park. But she decided that her last on-screen appearance would be in 2001 as she sparked a new interest for painting. She went on to graduate from Skidmore College and she now runs her own art gallery. The artist is now 40 years old and is married to Mark Bolton, who she shares a daughter with. Coming into our number 3 spot is Jake Lloyd. The child star had a good career going after starring in 4 episodes of ER back in 1996, but his breakthrough role was playing Anakin Skywalker in the 1999 Star Wars The Phantom Menace. The 8-year-old had some big shoes to fill at such a young age because we all know how crazy and passionate Star Wars fans are. He had to play this sweet innocent kid but also show a dark side that would be convincing enough for him to grow up to become Darth Vader. After his first Star Wars appearance, he reprised his role as Anakin's voice for 5 video games, but Jake stopped his acting career by the time he was 12 years old. His life took a turn down a dark path and he was arrested in 2015 for reckless driving after a high-speed car chase. He was charged with reckless driving, failure to stop, resisting arrest, and driving without a license. In 2016, TMZ reported that he was transferred from jail to a psychiatric facility after a diagnosis of schizophrenia. When speaking with the Daily Telegraph, he spoke about his Star Wars days, saying that kids bullied him at school because of it, so he ended up destroying any memories he actually had from the filming experience. This one wasn't really a happy ending. In spot number 2 is Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Twins are a 2-for-1 deal, so they are taking 1 spot on this list. The twins were infants when they stole hearts playing Michelle Tanner on the hit TV series Full House back in 1987. They were 9 years old when the series ended, so basically their entire childhood from birth was on a film set. From there, they started their own brand simply by being the Olsen twins, where they made a collection of Mary-Kate and Ashley movies. I have all of them on DVD. They also had their own TV shows called So Little Time and Two of a Kind, but their last on-screen performance together was back in 2004, where they did their first theatrical release movie, New York Minute. These two were wildly famous. They were actually billionaires by the time that they were teenagers, owning their own clothing line on top of all their film success. But they didn't want that to last forever. They announced in 2012 that they officially retired from acting and now focus on their fashion line called Elizabeth and James. They still remain in the public eye to an extent in the fashion world, but they keep their life very low-key. We barely hear or see anything about them anymore. Taking the number 1 place on our list is Macaulay Culkin. Every kid in the world knows him as the kid from Home Alone. He will always hold a place in our hearts for playing Kevin McAllister in those classic Christmas movies. And although he's mainly known for that series, he also appeared in 8 other feature films between the years 1990 to 1994. The kid was a huge star. He went on to make a guest appearance on the NBC sitcom Will and Grace and starred in the movie Party Monster. Many would say his acting career was solid from there on out, but then, which felt like kind of out of nowhere, he quit acting. He wanted to live a normal life and ended up moving to Paris, where he spends most of his time writing, painting, and working on a podcast called Bunny Ears with his friend Matt Cohen. After going MIA for many years, he has now made his way back into the limelight to share share his story, but he doesn't really came for all the fame part of it. He's actually thrilled when people don't recognize him or bring up the Home Alone movies. He told The Blast, "I was going to Paris for a little while and I thought people didn't recognize me. But then it was like, no, we recognize you, we just don't care." And I was like, where have you been my whole life? I think we're so used to seeing celebrities in the spotlight that it's hard to believe that some don't actually enjoy it.